All right, everybody, let me tell you about the adventures that us math teachers have had at the beach. First of all, last weekend we all got together, and even though it was raining, we went down to the beach. And there was this guy walking along the seawall shouting, "Quadrilaterals, get your quadrilaterals here, 360 each." I didn't need any quadrilaterals, so I just went to lay on the beach. Now, what was he selling? Quadrilaterals. How much were they? 360 each. Well, as I'm laying on the beach trying to get a tan, the sky suddenly goes dark. And when I look up to see what's going on, there's lots of kites up in the sky, and they're all shaped like triangles. I started counting the triangle kites, and I found there were 180. They were all shaped like what? Triangles. And how many were there? 180. Okay, so I decided, since I'm not going to get a tan, I would go swimming in the ocean. Along the way, I almost run into 3 guys walking around on ladders, like stilts. And they were all the same height. So I guess they were on equal ladders. They're all the same, and they're equal ladders. Okay, so after I got around those guys, I went into the water, but I stepped on a scale, the kind you weigh yourself with. And I leaned over to see my weight. Yikes. And I saw that there were lots of scales, and all the weights were different. So I looked left and I looked right, and they were all what? Different. Weird. Yeah, I stepped on a scale, I leaned over to see the weight, and there were so many scales, and they were all different. So I finally got into the water, and I started cooling off. I looked out, and I saw my friend Celeste ripping up the waves. He was surfing while holding 2 equal packets. Again, weird. I saw Celeste holding 2 equal packets. So, after watching him for a while, I got out of the water and started walking down the beach. When I was walking, I came across a little old man convention. And the first little old man I met was a cute little thing. I just had to ask how old he was. He was so cute. He said he was less than 90. I said, so am I. Now, the second old man I met, he was kind of grouchy. He was always arguing, demanding he was Mr. Right. And when I asked him how old he was, he said exactly 90. How old was Mr. Right? Exactly 90. The third old man I met was a cool cat. He was kicking in his lounge chair, leaning back, listening to tunes. No one would mess with this big guy. And when I talked to him, I asked him what his name was, and he said O.B. And then I asked, well, how old are you, O.B.? He replied, over 90. Okay, so as the day went on, the old men were having a good time, and I decided it was time to go home. But they didn't want me to leave, and they started chasing me. I got into my truck, and I drove 180 miles per hour straight home. How fast did I go? 180. And where'd I go? Straight home. But I was hungry, so I stopped at Sonic, and they were giving away 2 complimentary corn dogs. And I'm excited because they're usually 90 cents for 2. So complimentary means they were free, but usually 2 complimentary ones now were 90 cents before. But I needed a little bit more, so then I buy a drink and some tots, and my entire supper is only $1.80. That's $1.80. And that concludes our story for the adventures at the beach. Have a great day. Bye.